Howdy folks, and welcome back to an Armored Warfare replay. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today I have for you, it's probably going to be kind of a long video, but I am featuring the Tier 5 Premium, the T-64AV, and I am teamed up with the Red Queen, who is running the Premium Tier 5 IT-1. Okay, let's begin with some history of the T-64AV. What you have here, we'll start with the T-64, which is a second generation main Soviet battle tank. And it was introduced in service in 1964. Obviously, 64. It was more advanced, it was a more advanced counterpart to the T-62. And the T-64 would have a number of advanced features for its time. It had things like an autoloader, composite armor, a compact transmission and engine.
Is up to you now. Black Company, stand by for new intel. Our airstrike team is en route to destroy cartel contraband. Intel suggests it's hidden amongst emergency relief supplies.
It would be first
the
mass-produced Soviet tank to have a true power pack. The autoloader would also allow for a 3-man crew, allowing a smaller, lighter, yet well-armored tank. So despite its 38-ton weight, the T-64 is armored like a heavy tank. However, all these advanced features came at a cost, namely in production time and cost per unit. It was a quite expensive tank. The T-64 is armed with a 125mm smoothbore to a 46 cannon and powered by a TDF 5-cylinder diesel engine producing 500 horsepower. Yeah, that doesn't seem like that much, but believe it or not, because of the weight limit, it's got a pretty good power to weight ratio. It utilized a torsion bar suspension, allowing for a smoother ride. It also has a 7.62mm coaxial PKMT machine gun and a pintle-mounted 12.7mm anti-air machine gun. Now, even as the first T-64s were coming off the assembly line, the design team was already working on numerous upgrades for the newly in-service T-64. So only after being in service for 3 years, a new upgrade package was released. The T-64A would feature improved fire controls by replacing the sights with a TPD-2-49 day sight with coincidence rangefinder.
Contraband, good job. We'll take that one out.
A TPN-1-49-23 night sight with stabilization mounts on the sights.
Keep moving.
Improved radio and night vision equipment for the driver and the commander. Also, some T-64s would feature a contact, one ERA kit. This would also add additional weight and protection to the already well-armored T-64. Now, all this being said, the T-64 for a long time would not be offered to Soviet satellite countries, such as Poland, Czechoslovakia, Ukraine, etc. Due to its complex nature. And even after the fall of the Soviet Union, only a few countries would receive T-64s. Ukraine would have a total of 2,345 T-64s in service by 1995. Ukraine, ever since, has also been upgrading them.
Good job.
It doesn't look like the T-64 is going anywhere anytime soon in general service. Understand that also some other countries are receiving T-64s actually from Ukraine. On the other hand, in 2014, Russia only had approximately 2,000 T-64s, which have been phased out of service and slated for destruction. The T-64 would only see limited combat service with Russia. In fact, the T-64 would be tested in Afghanistan during the Afghan-Russo War. However, the T-64 performed poorly and were quickly withdrawn from Afghan services. They would end up using mainly T-55s and T-62s. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, the newly formed Russian ground forces would decide that the T-72 and T-80. Yeah, we're gonna go a bit long because I still don't have all this information out. Yeah, it just kind of shows you this tank. The T-72 and the T-80 would be the standardized tank of Soviet ground forces, and the T-64s would either be would be placed in reserve or scrapped. Quite a few of them were scrapped. Some of them would, as I said, end up in Ukraine's hands. So there you go. There's the history of the T-64. Sorry, I'm going a little long here. So there's that game. So that was a Tier 6 matchup in my premium Tier 5 T-64AV Hunter. I definitely really like the Hunter model. The yellow and the black camo looks great on the on desert maps. Not so pretty on some other ones, but it's still a pretty good looking tank. And it's got, because of its camo paint, it's got a bonus camouflage rating on all maps. That being said, it's got a decent gun and it is a brawler. Its armor is actually really decent, especially with that explosive reactive armor package, and it withstands attacks even against the dreaded Swain fire, and the saber. So far, total damage there would be 9,145. I would spot 4 enemy vehicles and destroy 4. And as you can see, I'd be number 2 in damage overall, only being just a little more than 1,000 damage behind the Magok 7C, which personally I feel the Magok 7C is probably the best Tier 6 main battle tank currently in game. So the fact that I could keep up with such a superb machine, I've been actually very impressed with the T-64AV, and I would definitely highly recommend this machine. As you can see, I also pulled 1,777 spotting damage. So yeah, there you go. That's the T-64AV. Sorry, once again, I've gone a little long here, but there was quite a bit to be said about the T-64. It was definitely a unique machine in service. I feel it was, all in all, it was actually an overhyped machine. Especially less than 10 years later, the T-72 would come out, and the T-72 would just overshadow the T-64 in every way. There was quite a few of them in Berlin, and actually they were, the plan was for the T-64 is if the Soviets were going to launch the attack, the T-64s were actually going to be launched against the British chieftains. So they were the chieftains, the Soviets saw the chieftain as a major threat, and they wanted to put a tank on equal grounds against the chieftain. And there you go, the T-64. That's all I'm going to say about the 64 for now. I could probably get more in depth with the 64. We'll see what I can pull off for a future replay of a T-64. Anyway, folks, hopefully you enjoyed the replay. I would definitely wholeheartedly recommend this vehicle. It's pretty cheap. It's a fun premium to play. And hopefully you all enjoyed the replay. And I will see you all again next time.